Yu-Gi-Oh might be dying. It's a tough thing to say out loud, but over the last many years, people have been saying Yu-Gi-Oh is dying, Yu-Gi-Oh's done for, and we've had YouTubers post online saying this is the end, pro players are leaving and whatnot. Oftentimes, this is sparked by a bad format or by one player leaving or new card game being announced as competition. But I've always tried to look past that and dismiss most of it as being somewhat irrelevant. But I think we actually do have a problem now. You see, I've always been by the numbers driven. When I see data reflect, the point that Yu-Gi-Oh is in trouble, that's when I start to be concerned. And the data I'm talking about is not necessarily YCS attendance, because for one, that's only competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm actually looking at a different set of numbers, and that is the secondary market in Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, if you haven't been buying products online or really been involved heavily in the Yu-Gi-Oh space, or maybe you're just a Master Duel player, you may have not really noticed what's happening here, but people are catching on. People realize that it's a problem, and I wanted to highlight specifically at first Team APS's Twitter post that ended up starting this kind of drama. I would like to note this is something that vendors like myself have noticed for months now, and we've been hoping that we'd get over this rough patch. It just seems to continue. Anyways, let's get to what Paul had to say. Yu-Gi-Oh boxes don't seem to have much value lately. Even this new green duelist set, which are typically known for being a big deal, is this a cause for concern? So there is a stigma in Yu-Gi-Oh that if the set has duelist in the name and it has a green box, then therefore it must be a good set. Duelist Revolution, for example, all the way back in 2010, included Effect Veiler, Solemn Warning, Pot of Duality, Scrap Dragon, Stygian Street Patrol, many fantastic cards. There's been others since then as well, and I think before that as well, that my memory truthfully evades because I'm not a huge believer in this type of nonsense. But either way, let's look at the price here, and you can see that it's at $47. And Paul actually posted this, at least the time of my recording. You can see in the bottom right, I'm posting this. So I'm recording this on the 16th, and this was already almost 2 weeks ago. And if you've bought a Yu-Gi-Oh box in the past, you'll know that's pretty cheap. Now, comparatively to what you may pay for a box from a distributor, this is less. And those card stores are paying more per box than they're selling for on TCG Player. And the price on TCG Player includes fees, right? So that's going to be around 10%. And then the shipping price, which depending on where you have to ship to, could be $5 to $7, let's say, but obviously it can vary a little more. And if you think about all that, you're losing a significant margin now on Yu-Gi-Oh products. When the boxes go this low, you run into a couple problems. For example, one of the most notable players in Yu-Gi-Oh's history did respond to this, Jeff Jones, who also works closely with other card stores and has managed one in the past. He has some explanations for this, but importantly, this is the thing that's going to matter the most. As a store, we made the decision to stop buying most Yu-Gi-Oh sealed products over the next year. There's no excuse for stores to keep getting burned on product they can't move, and that happens. When the prices go down like this, people order less. And when they order less, the local scenes will suffer, and you'll have stores stop supporting Yu-Gi-Oh! Then the community starts to crumble. And there are more casual players or semi-competitive players than there are truly competitive players like myself, or even the people who only go to 1 or 2 YCS a year, right? Those still aren't the majority. So numbers will fall from the base level first, and then it'll trickle up, but that's a huge problem. That's the future of the game. That's the base of the game. It's scary, right? Because those people will stop playing because they have nowhere to play. They'll have nowhere to buy cards. Now, it's also a bit of a debate in terms of the cause and effect here, right? You could say that maybe we are seeing what, say, Jeff is saying here at the start. When you're competing with Magic breaking sales from collabs like the Sonic or the Avatar, the Final Fantasy, Pokemon One Piece have been dominating as well. Maybe the alternatives in every other game just feeling better than Yu-Gi-Oh right now is having that effect to decrease demand. And with the decreased demand, oversupply causes prices to plummet. Either way, it's not a good thing for Yu-Gi-Oh, right? It means there's a problem somewhere, and it's an actual problem that's affecting the community. And I want to show you guys one other opinion, kind of going over what may be happening in Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, this is from Ollie from Tier Zero Games. If you aren't familiar with Tier Zero Games, they're actually my sponsor. So make sure you guys go check out the link below in the description box where there's a link to their store. They sell cards constantly, but notoriously they are fantastic for pre-orders. With the code Jesse5, you have 5% off. As well as on their YouTube channel, I do post content as well. Small little plug, but I do want to show these guys my appreciation because they've been a great host for me for the last 9 months now. I've been on the team, or 8 months. And yeah, make sure to check them out. But anyways, Ollie is the owner of Tier Zero Games, and he is a huge vendor in the realm of Yu-Gi-Oh! So he does have a lot of input and weight to the words he says, and I wanted to share it to a broader audience. So I've seen a lot of opinions about the current state Yu-Gi-Oh! Product and why it's failing so badly. As someone who's opened tens of thousands of booster boxes over the last 7 years, here are my thoughts on the rapid demise of Duod. The set itself actually isn't that bad. It has a lot of what we typically look for. New archetypes that'll be popular to some point, interesting, though currently weak TCG exclusive deck, and playable cards across multiple rarities. And yeah, I mean, obviously shouldn't have to back it up, but I'll explain more from my thought processes, because I'm also a Yu-Gi-Oh! Vendor, albeit to a smaller degree than Ollie, and I've done it for probably about 7 years myself. From Duod specifically, the new archetypes that'll be popular at some point, we're referring to the potential behind Art Mage cards, because those could go up in value in the future. That creates demand, speculation, and does, in theory, lift prices up. The people opening the set need to have value, otherwise they're not going to buy the product. And again, that goes back to the root issue of supporting an ecosystem that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Interesting TCG exclusive decks. This one's a bit fishier because you don't know this when you order the product. Rebel bots, who knows how good they'll be. They have the makings of potential, but that is a constant theme among TCG exclusive decks. And then playable cards in the immediate, right? Holly Sue for Vanquish Soul obviously is an impactful card and mustn't be understated. The Sky Striker cards are somewhat playable as well, but I'll continue on with what Ollie says. However, it suffers from a recurring issue in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sets at the moment. Without a new staple or potential staple, a set is only as strong as its best deck. And this is where the current problems are really starting to show. Since April, we've known Justice Hunters was coming, and with it, what now appears to be the top 3 decks of the format by a wide margin. So he's talking about, with Justice Hunters coming out in about 2 weeks, we're going to see 3 tier 1 strategies come out of it. Vanquish obviously has roots in older sets, but the K9 cards, which are highlighted in the deck and really propel it to the top status. Draco Tail, a deck that was dominant before Vanquish K9 came out in OCG because they had a different set release order. And then Yummy, a deck which is kind of competing with Vanquish Soul right now as the second best deck, and in some cases arguably even better. But still, those are the 3 decks that all seem to be very relevant into the upcoming format. It's all Justice Hunters. We see a complete meta shift and a sort of change in life cycles in Yu-Gi-Oh! That happens often. With the change in cycles over to Snake Eye, change in cycles over to Malice Ryzeal, and now we're shifting an entirely new lifespan or format in Yu-Gi-Oh! And obviously it's not format because there are different ban lists within these formats, but you see different cycles and lifespans of these sets and decks. It's a bit atypical for what you to consider in a card game. So how do we fix this? No idea. If I had the answer, you'd probably be making the game instead of just selling them. But a lot of the ideas have already been mentioned. Better rarity distribution. We all want affordability, but there needs to be balance. Lately, too many strong cards are printed in low rarities and need to stop devaluing rarities. There's so many rarities you don't need to have, a chase rarity also being a tin promo. Yeah, I don't like that solid rares have gone from being this chase thing to Horde Sentries became way too affordable, and then they become every 10, and now solid rares aren't really special. And you can say it's cool for the player base, but collectors need to have a place in Yu-Gi-Oh! They need to still be appreciated, right? And they've been leaving in droves. And here's the important one that I really wasn't that kind of thinking about until Ollie brought it up. And that is better power balance across sets. The Justice Hunters really need all 3 of the best decks in the game. That's just greedy. If they were split across 3 releases, all 3 products would sell. That's even without touching the power creep problem. So this is interesting because it's kind of what Master Duel does, right? Because think back to Tier and Sprite. They weren't released simultaneously in Master Duel. Think to even in the current era, Ryzeal at the time recording this has not even been announced in Master Duel, but Malice is out. Where in the TCG, this entire new cycle and wave came at the same time. It means that the sets before Justice Hunters don't matter. Therefore, why would people invest in them? Why would they buy cards from them they know will be obsolete so soon? So that kind of premonition of Justice Hunters coming out creates this like stock market like trend of forcing product prices down. The problem, however, is if you release these powerful decks over several releases, is you might find yourself in more frequent tier 0 formats and give less choice to the players, because until all of those powerful decks come into rotation to create that new Yu-Gi-Oh! Cycle, you end up with what you have like right now in Master Duel, where Malice is just far and away the best deck. And if you do that with every sort of powerful release, then you'll end up with constant pocket formats. It could also mean that Yu-Gi-Oh just needs to change its product mapping like for the entire year altogether. Maybe they don't release so many sets. They already have slowed down, which is good because releasing junk sets is not okay. This right now, it's a weird state. Ollie does add some closing remarks though. More than anything, he thinks Yu-Gi-Oh needs something new. It's not collectible right now. Yep. It only has one format that can reliably sell cards, and that's top heavy. Casual play seems to be disappearing. I don't run an OTS. I don't know about this. I know the locals enough, and it's hard for me to say, but me running a channel that has a lot of casual content, I don't know how true this is. It may just be that it's more shifting towards Master Duel because it's more friendly for it, as well as it's easier to play on a casual level, which makes sense. Final point in your never-ending thread. You think the death in the anime is the biggest loss. We always had this to push products, and because of that, it feels I've had to retrain anime cards so many times, even they rarely feel special anymore. So that's something I also didn't really think about. We used to get excited a lot more for DM support, Blue Eye support, Red Eye support. And while we still do, the lesser appreciated ones, like even hero support, it's less monumental now. It's almost commonplace in Yu-Gi-Oh! And they are kind of just repeating tired themes of sorts. It's a lot of things to ponder on because it's not an easy solution. If Yu-Gi-Oh! Had an easy solution to this problem, then I'd hope Konami would do it, right? They have to be aware of this problem. This is not something they can just sleep on. This should be DEFCON 5. Konami needs to address. This should be a bigger problem than pricing. This should be a bigger problem than maybe one bad YCS or whatever, because this will have huge impacts. Now, this is just one box price duo. I wanted to show you guys the more full effects of the market. I'm going to go through some of the tabs I've opened here. Duelist Advanced boxes. If we look now, I think it's maybe even a couple hours over date. It may be even less now. It's dropped another 40 cents. Look at this graph. This is abysmal. This is below cost for OTSs. There's some OTSs that are smaller will buy only a little bit of product to support the local scene, but larger scale vendors that support the community, like Gamer's Choice, Tier 0. I'm not crazy large, but I order a large amount of products. When you're ordering like cases in the multiples of hundreds, I don't do that, but others like the ones I mentioned before will. Think of that loss, right? That's multiple times a year. That's really bad. And that's not even counting the work that all this is, right? You have to actually work to lose money. So you can see why stores are discouraged. And it's not just Duelist Advance. Alliance Insight's even worse. Like, look at this box price. Prices are down here, and despite small little upticks, it's trending down. And maybe it's up from $34. It gets to the point that it's so low, people may just buy them out. And you see, I think that's what happened here a little bit. Because when they're that cheap, it's just like, maybe gamble on it for the future, but $38, this is nothing. Boxes being this low is pathetic. Supreme Darkness is not much better. This was before Justice Hunters being announced, so this may have some value to Ollie's theory, but this set was deemed as not great. Ready distribution on this made no sense. The Mitsu cards, all low rarity, so no one really had to pay much for them, barring 2 Ultras, which ended up being a bulk of the price. And Eclipse Twins being super meant that most cards you went in the set, besides Meowls, weren't hard to get. So the set ended up like this, and it's not good. And this is even with hero cards in here, right? Like, if hero cards had some QCRs, which they do, you'd hope that would drive up some collectible price. And it does to some extent, but not enough to really bring it above a good price. And again, this is still losing money after fees. That's not the reality. It's still work to lose money. And the side sets are no different, right? Battle Legends, it did recover a little bit, but 51, 52, this is not profitable, and it's still losing money. Now, thankfully, we are almost at the point where this can bounce back. You can see there is a couple dozen listed, but after that, that moves away. We do get to 57. This is not good. This is still not profitable for companies, but it's no longer sounding alarms level prices. This set did fare a little better because it has some more collectability with the chibis, the Blue Eyes, Starlight Rares. Blue Eyes has been the only collectible card that, despite multiple high rarity prints in the last few months, has maintained a good price. The OTS Ultimate, the QCRs in Stampede, the Starlight Rare in Mayhem, and even the stamped one from the WCQ seems to be priced very well. So they're using it as a lifeline right now. And I get it, but it's rough. Now, you may say, but if the box prices are bad, what about singles, right? Because what if these stores open the product instead and try and sell the singles? Let's look at Alliance Insight. March Hare, most impactful card in the game, was $60 in release. Months later, $17. And I know Nationals or WCQ has just passed, so they may have dropped a little bit as players just selling their decks. But even before that, they were $20. Still, the best cards in the set cannot be that cheap. Even $30, the most expensive card in the set is not a QCR. That's freaking nothing. And what if I change the filter here? What if I instead only show QCRs? Let's show how much QCRs are worth. There are some worth okay money, but so many of them are actually worthless. You can pull your 3 QCRs in a case and pull $45 in cards from QCRs. That's not collectible. This is all so sad. Star Rise was a playable card. It's nothing. It's nothing. Now, you can argue that as a product of sets dropping in price, the game becomes more affordable to play. But this being the way we have reached this destination is nice for now and will quickly kind of derail, because the game will suffer in large as players stop playing or stores stop supporting it. And then as scarcity rises, prices move back up. And then Yu-Gi-Oh becomes volatile in prices. You have formats of incredibly expensive and worthless. That being said, I don't know if cheaper prices can fully be established with Yu-Gi-Oh being such a competitively driven game. I think the best way to do that is to have one deck be really cheap and other decks not be. That way people have options still to compete cheaply, but if you want to play different decks, they can do so. But still, myself looking to buy Yu-Gi-Oh product in the future, I'm heavily debating every choice now. Now, with this all said and done, we talked about how Justice Hunters is coming out and it'll change the format. So how is Justice Hunters doing price-wise? Well, it's not out yet, so we don't really have a clear picture just yet. We can look at pre-sale prices, and it looks good. This is still not like a point where I'm screaming, Yu-Gi-Oh save, there's a ton of profit. When I'm looking for a higher price set to make good bank on as a vendor, I'm looking for $80 plus typically. That's when I'm really happy with my margin. You can't see here though that prices have gone up already, if anything, which is a good sign. It means there is demand here. It may give further proof to Ollie's theory though, that this kind of metric of released sets with us knowing the future leads to sets being like this is not a good thing. But the set looks fine. And maybe Yu-Gi-Oh is fine after all, but I'm concerned because this pricing thing is a huge problem. It is all part of, again, this ecosystem that is Yu-Gi-Oh and its health and its community. And when one thing falters, and by the data, it has faltered drastically, it's not long before other things gotta sink. As far as other fixes go, one other thing that may have to happen is a simultaneous release date for Yu-Gi-Oh products. The only reason we even know about Justice Hunters being so good, and it's for one reason. OCG gets the stuff way before us. It lets us pick and choose with our money, and it makes these products kind of bad, right? Because this kind of stock market type of speculation effect really can affect the market and hurt stores. Simultaneous would fix that a fair degree. And for all we know, Yu-Gi-Oh is doing that, right? Again, this is completely off of my own speculation. I have no insight on this. Do not quote me as an official source, please. But think about last core sets, right? Everything's been pushed back. The core set in the summertime used to be posted or published or released in August, but now it's early July. Last time it was mid-July. Think about the Halloween set, this time Doom of Dimensions. It's coming out in September now. We're moving sets closer together, and the time between us and OCG for core sets specifically is closing. I'm hoping this is a sign we're moving towards a simultaneous release. I don't know if the logistics are significantly harder for Konami for that. I don't know if this will actually help the game, but it would help us with having more interesting formats at the start of set releases. It would help the game sync up for just community's sake, and I think it might help the sealed product thing as well. So it's a good fix in theory, and it might actually be what's happening. So interesting to kind of take note of. But that's all I have to say. Now I'm curious what you guys have to say as well. Do you think this is all a bunch of bullshit? Do you think this not matters at all? How do you fix it? Do you have other reasons for explaining this? It's a touchy subject, and I hope that we have answers, because you know, I've mulled over the idea of switching card games before, but I don't really want to. And if Yu-Gi-Oh dies, I would not have a choice. So I'd like to see the game stay healthy, and hopefully you guys agree too. But also let me know if you want more discussion videos like this. Discussion videos are hit or miss because it also depends how topical they are, and they're not always going to be a good discussion to work on. When there is something important to talk about, I feel like I want to spend the time to express my opinions, because I've played this game for 20 years and I've also been involved in the community at a deep level through several avenues. I've been a coach, I don't know why I said that first. I've been a competitor in the local level, at the YCS level, at the world's level. I've been a vendor for the last 7 years, and I'm a content creator. So I really see almost every aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! And this one is the one that's struggling the most right now. But with that said, guys, see y'all next time. Hopefully for many more years to come. Peace.